Okay, I didn't really expect to make the cut. Okay, all right. I'm going to start by way of talking about a priest friend of mine and one of his favorite homilies, very briefly. Father Jerry Krings, he did this homily, and my church community was going through a rough time, and he said to us, he said, close your eyes, take a moment, think about what your favorite book is, and that's your theology. That's the philosophy under which you live your life, which I think is really powerful. But the problem is I don't have a favorite book. But I do have a favorite movie. And actually that movie works out pretty well as a favorite theology, and I'm gonna have to explain it to you after I tell you the title. Because the title of my favorite movie is The Poseidon Adventure. When I first saw The Poseidon Adventure, of course, I was a little kid, and it was just amazing. The explosions and people falling in places, and everything's upside down. It just was like, how did they do that? And what's gonna happen next? But I kept watching that movie over and over and over. And I had to sort of say to myself, why is this movie so relevant and meaningful and purposeful? And there really is a theology behind it, at least for me. Because what I saw in that movie is a small group of people who, in spite of all kinds of odds, had to continue to persist. And what they were heading towards was their own salvation. I think about, those groups of people, and I'm going to focus on one, and that's Shelley Winters. And the reason I want to focus on that her character, is because I watched as the group continued to move through the story. They first start with having, a group of people who tell them, don't do anything, stay where you are, And they make a choice to, and I don't know how much more you can get in terms of theology, climb a Christmas tree. They climb a Christmas tree to the next level. They have to make a choice to go climb a Christmas tree. And I think to myself, sometimes in my life, do I have what it takes to go against what other people say and climb that Christmas tree? Can I do that? What's interesting to me about Shelley Winters as a character is throughout most of the movie, she's just dead weight. I mean, literally, there's a moment where they're pulling her up and she's just dead weight all along the way, And she's like, just, sort of trying to be positive, but everyone's like, oh my gosh, is she gonna get through the tunnel? Is she gonna, are we gonna get her up? And so she's just sort of this little bit, very kind woman, but nuisance that everybody's kind of carrying along. Till there's this one point. And if you've seen the movie, you know that point. She's always talked about how she's a good swimmer. And one of the characters gets stuck and is underwater. And everybody's arguing about what to do and how to solve it and stuff like that. But Shelley knows what to do. She knows what to do. And she doesn't ask for any permission. She dives into the water and she swims. And if she did not do that, I don't think that those characters would have made it through. At least me as a child certainly felt that way. And to be candid with you, that's how I feel today. And my question for myself is, can I go against what others say about me, or suggest about me, or tell me as to who I am in terms of being able to do what I think I need to do? And there was a moment in my life where I did get a chance to really have that. And that was at the flood of '93. And I'm gonna fess up and say for most of the flood of '93, I was a tourist. I walked around and saw the floodwaters. It was a nightmare for those of you who were born at that point. It was a nightmare. I was taking pictures, I was touring around. So I'm driving back from Alton into Florissant where I lived, and suddenly I see a bunch of cars pull off to the side of the road. And I didn't know what happened, but I knew something happened. So I pull off to the side of the road, and I run to this bank just in time to see this van roll into the lake on its side and sink. And it's amazing to me how quickly that lake just sort of became like there was nothing there. And so I didn't think anything about it, by the way. I'm not a great swimmer, and I don't know, anything about CPR or any of that stuff, but what I did know is somebody needed to go in that water. And so I pulled all my keys out and I jumped in the water, and I wasn't the only one. There were other people that showed up. We open up the door, this lady pops out, we pull her out. There's purses that are coming to the top, we're pulling those out. Ladies are coming, we're pulling the side of the van. 3 ladies, we get out. We know there's a 4th because they're telling us there's a 4th, but we can't find her. We don't know where she is. And finally this woman pops up, and I hear out on the banks, I hear somebody say, "Oh, she's dead." And I was so pissed off because I'm like, no, she's not dead. We just saved her. She's here. And so we pulled her and got her on the shore, and thank God, because somebody knew CPR, she was alive and she was just fine. At that moment, I'm so grateful that I made that choice to do that. And what I hope for myself, by the way, is that should something like that happen again, I'll have that chance. One last thing I want to share with you. We also, like I mentioned, pulled out all the purses from the van except for one. And I'm sitting next to these ladies on the shore, and they're looking at each other, and the one notices that everybody's got their purse, and she looks out and she goes, "Could somebody go get my..." "Oh, never mind, thank you."